when he was involved in the company, like WCW, the rival organization, and any other rival organization he had been involved with throughout his wrestling career. The same thing goes for Ric Flair. The majority of his success did not come at the hands of WWE. Rather, it came with other wrestling companies like World Championship Wrestling, and that's why they chose to take so many shots at the Flair family in this program with Paige and Charlotte. Yes, it increased the intensity and really added heat to the rivalry and made it more interesting and one of the focal points of WWE, but that's the best you could offer us with this overflow of talent, which is really impressive and could be getting more experience if you had teams like the Bella Twins there to offer them that experience. I would really enjoy seeing something different offered in the way of a reprieve, which we've been desperately trying to scratch the surface of and get to in WWE, but it's the same thing constantly reiterated all the time, and as a result of that, people like Nikki Bella obviously don't want anything to do with WWE from the point of a professional career. They want to go elsewhere with their life. I think there was something having to do with movie deals for Nikki Bella and her wanting to have a child, go home and do that with John Cena. There was a lot surrounding her future. There were more questions than there were answers about Nikki Bella's future, which was being contemplated. It was kind of teased on Total Divas, Nikki Bella's departure. She couldn't believe that it was coming to an end. At least she got a push before it all came to an end and came crashing down for her. But I really would like to see something more from Nikki Bella, either in the way of an entertainment side for her, in the way of entertainment exposure or wrestling exposure, because I think there's way much more for Nikki Bella to offer and way much for us to see exist for Nikki Bella. I'm kind of wondering how the Divas division is going to be able to exist or coexist without the Bella Twins, with how much they offered early on in their careers. I mean, they were there since, 2008, 2009. They were there for a considerable number of years, a considerable amount of time, and really, it's very rarely that you see WWE get 9 or 10 years out of a diva. Alicia Fox is the latest one to actually get 9 or 10 years of a career with WWE, and I was really hoping to see that from the Bella Twins. Although that didn't happen, they were close to 10 years with WWE, and I thought we were really going to see the distance ran with the Bella Twins and them utilized to their fullest potential, especially when they returned into reality stars in WWE's version of the Kardashians, although they may have been a far cry off while keeping up with the Kardashians in the way of battles between reality shows were actually offering in the way of ratings for networks like E! And, of course, different networks like Much Music. It was amazing seeing the ratings that the reality show actually got, and it was all because of what the Bella Twins were offering from season to season, and they could still be doing the same thing with upcoming seasons that are going to be released of Total Divas, which is obviously getting a tremendous amount of exposure with newer cast members being added all the time. But how can that show exist or thrive without the Bella Twins? That's a question that's going to be answered, and if they're going to be making appearances on that show in due time remains to be seen. I don't think we've seen the last of the Bella Twins with WWE. I'm going to go on record for saying the same thing about them as I've been saying about Sting for months. I don't think we've seen the last of Sting, and I don't think we're going to be seeing the last of the Bella Twins anytime soon. I may be saying this, yes, because I'm a huge fan of the Bella Twins, especially Nikki Bella, but the thing is, how can WWE exist and or thrive without people like the Bella Twins? When you're talking about wrestlers, how can it exist without people like Daniel Bryan and Sting? You know, if we can see Sting and Daniel Bryan one day again in WWE with how much of devotion they've shown and dedication towards WWE and their fans, how can we go without saying the same thing about the Bella Twins? I don't think we've seen the last of the Bella Twins without the shadow of a doubt, and I think we can safely answer the question as to whether or not Nikki Bella has a future with WWE, even though it's being contemplated on, and I'm fairly surely contemplated on Nikki Bella's future with WWE, because I really think that she was one of the best that WWE could have offered us in the way of a wrestler, in the way of an athlete, in the way of a very accomplished individual. I was really proud of having her seen what she did as both a fan favorite and a heel, and I was even more proud to see her actually get a meaningful reign in there as Divas Champion before she parted ways with the company and her contract was up and her obligations had been fulfilled with WWE, because her first reign was only, 6 days in comparison to Brie Bella's first reign. Brie Bella had the title a couple of months and defended it against a number of challengers and successfully retained the championship. That was the interesting thing about Brie Bella's first or second reign as Divas Champion. Was able to successfully retain the championship a number of times. Nikki Bella got one title defense in 6 days after winning it and loses the championship. I think it was on pay-per-view. She dropped it to Layla, who was getting ready to make a return, a surprise return at the Over the Limit pay-per-view. And a couple of days after that, a number of years ago, both Bella Twins were fired. They frantically took to social media and they blasted WWE in a number of interviews. They were going by their shoot names, which was really uncharacteristic for former WWE employees to have to do, either wrestlers or Divas, and the Bella Twins were some of the first to have done that, going by their shoot names in interviews, the first to have done that in years, and obviously they got WWE's attention, and WWE turned in and gave them a second chance in the way of surrendering, in the way of submission, if you would, to the Bella Twins. I don't know if WWE actually looked at it in the way of submitting to the Bella Twins or surrendering to them, but they did get a second run with the WWE, and they had a chance, a hand at being reality stars, even though it may have been successful in the eyes of many or not successful in the eyes of so many more. The thing is, the Bella Twins got a second chance, and they definitely defined their legacies as two of the greatest in-ring performers that we have seen of this generation. I mean, you can't get no better or more entertaining than the Twin Magic concept. I mean, that was really fun to have watched. It was really unpredictable because you didn't know when the Bella Twins were going to hit that proverbial switch. A lot of creativity would come on, and they would do the Twin Magic thing so professionally. It was really amazing and so fun to actually watch as a wrestling fan, to see how it all unfolded and was played out in wrestling matches. The same thing can be said about how entertaining the New Day is, which I think is WWE's answer to no longer having the Bella Twins as a team and just having one half of the team hanging on as part of the Divas Revolution, as part of Team Bella, Brie Bella, who is kind of carrying the team right now, which is comprised of Brie Bella and Alicia Fox and many more. But I think the New Day are the answer to the Bella Twins no longer being with WWE as a team. The New Day are really entertaining, coming up with the trumpet as tag team champions. They're really over with WWE fans, although they may chant New Day sucks as part of a very innovative chant, which has been modified from New Day rocks to New Day sucks. I thought that was really innovative, how they really made the New Day into a really entertaining team after receiving horrible reviews for the team. They may be the answer, or consider the answer, to the Bella Twins no longer being with WWE and other wrestlers like Daniel Bryan and Rob Van Dam, who went elsewhere with their life choices in the way of professionalism, and I thought that's great. But the thing is, you can always make room in the Divas division for the Bella Twins. Just imagine the ratings WWE would get off the reunion of the Bella Twins. If you can do reunions of people like the Dudley Boys and ECW Originals and the Brothers of Destruction all the time, you can very easily have a reunion of the Bella Twins. I spoke about this last week in my column on my radio show at Jonathan Clarke 22 on YouTube. I said, if you can always do reunions of the Brothers of Destruction, I spoke on this last week, you can just have a reunion of the Bella Twins happen. You don't have to reserve it for a pay-per-view. It can happen on an edition of Raw or SmackDown when you least expect it. And when you don't expect for a wrestler to make a turnaround with their career, that's usually when it happens. When we're not expecting someone like a Bo Dallas to come from out of nowhere, he could very easily turn his career around and start winning matches and winning championships. And the same thing can be said about reunions and returns of people like the Bella Twins. When you least expect them to show up, that's when they're obviously going to show up, and they're going to change the complexity of the Divas division for forever, which is why I'm really looking forward to finding out what the future has in store for the Bella Twins and all their fans, because if I've said it once, I've said it a million times, and probably can get away with saying it at least one more time. The Bella Twins have yet the best years of their careers to be witnessed by both themselves and the wrestling fans. There it is for you. I said it because I firmly believe and stand to the fact that the Bella Twins still have the best years of their careers as wrestlers, either as singles competitors or as a tag team, to be witnessed by themselves and wrestling fans. That is something I've been quoted on and saying because I really believe that to be true as a wrestling fan for at least 20 years. I've been watching wrestling for close to 20 years. In 2016, it'll be the 20th anniversary since I've been watching wrestling. In 2019, it'll be 20 years since I've been documenting wrestling, and if one thing has ever remained constant with wrestling, it's how wrestling has been very unpredictable, and when you least expect things to turn around and or happen, that's usually when it happens, and things are going to start happening as we get closer to the 2016 Royal Rumble. That's the next pay-per-view on the bill, where we're going to determine who's going to the main event of WrestleMania 32 next year in Dallas, Texas, taking in mind the venue of WrestleMania is so big, so we're going to have a big winner of the Royal Rumble, and whoever's going to be the champion, that question is going to be answered as to who's going to punch his ticket as World Heavyweight Champion and who his challenger is going to be in the main event of WrestleMania 32. With so many wrestlers on the DL and so many returns either expected or so many replacements of all these wrestlers on the DL to be made, who's going to really come in and steal the show at WrestleMania as either the number one contender or champion? It remains to be seen, as we have more unanswered questions than the Divas division as of right now. So many unanswered questions. I just thought I would elaborate on one of them, and one being the future of Nikki Bella and whether or not we're going to see her return in WWE. And I think I can get away with saying that we haven't seen the last of either Nikki Bella or the Bella Twins teaming together as one of the more popular Divas tag teams within the division. And by the way, guys, I really appreciate how Stephanie has endorsed the Divas division and has been promoting it as a principal owner of WWE. It's one of the by far more ingenious things or intelligent things the Authority have actually done. I hope they keep running with the ball, bouncing it in their court while the opportunity exists and is kind of there. And I hope they really don't fuck this up, because if they fuck this up, it's pretty much good for them to go home, because there's really no reason for them being on television if they fuck this one up. This is a good thing they have going for wrestling, and I think that if they fuck this one up, it's pretty much safe to say they're going home, and they shouldn't even be on television, because then it will be determined for sure they have no sense of a creative direction with WWE, with how many times they fucked up so many good things in wrestling in the way of injuries and overworking names like Randy Orton and Seth Rollins. There's no need of that. I think that if they do something terrible to the Divas division, it's pretty much safe to say their careers are over, and they probably should have never been given the positions they've been given by Vince McMahon as either COOs or principal owners, because they obviously have no fucking clue as to what wrestling fans want or how it relates to how wrestling fans want it so much they've never gotten to see as wrestling fans. And I'm still waiting on matches like Sting versus The Undertaker, so that should tell you a lot about how wrestling fans are never offered what they want to see. And I want to see something more out of the Divas division. Either that, or I want to see returns of either the Bella Twins as a team or as Nikki Bella as a singles competitor in WWE, because I am a diehard fan of people like Nikki Bella and what they've been offering for years to WWE, because it's so hard to come by divas who can actually last for 10 years in professional wrestling. Usually 6 or 7 years is the maximum period of time that you will see a diva actually remain with a company. And hopefully we'll get 10 years of Nikki Bella before it's all said and done, especially with how incredible of a reality star she was off Total Divas and the previous successes we have seen the show obtain on the E! Network. I believe they still air that one on E! on